Hello, welcome to Padres Cast with Daren and Littleboy. I'm Littleboy.
I'm Daren.
And first of all, I want to welcome you back, Daren. You had a week off last week.
I did.
And I wanted to thank Josh once again. He stepped in for you. Did a great job pinch hitting in there for you, just like the Padres. One of the few bright spots for the Padres. They can pinch hit, and it looks like so can Josh.
He did a good job. I gotta give him credit. He told me about it the following day. I saw him, and good job, Josh.
Yeah, he did. Anybody that's watching right now, you're welcome to call in 619-387-3457. I'll also be taking tweets live. If you want to tweet directly at me, I'm at LBHost. You can tweet directly to Daren, and he'll ignore you like he does everybody else.
King of ghosting.
Yes. This week, our sponsor, once again, is Pro Sports Memorabilia. Go to PMLBsports.com, click on the Pro Sports Memorabilia link, and buy some stuff, and we'll get some money. Let's go right into so far this season. Padres record 11-21. 10 games below 500. You know, last week we were kind of excited because it was their first week that they had played above 500 ball. This last week, they're 2-4. So they're kind of back down to how the whole season's been going. It's just been a rough year so far. You know, we had that one bright week, and then I don't know. We looked like we were going to maybe sweep the Rockies, and then we lost that. We got swept before that.
It's just the bottom line is just not a very good team, and not only is it not a very good team. I mean, they're battling the injury bug worse than, you could argue other teams, but they're right up there with teams that have, 3 or 4, they're starting 5,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, even with those guys, they weren't slated to be a very good team. I don't think any of us thought they were going to be this bad. But
Yeah, that's a good point. Want to give a quick Twitter shout-out. I want to have everybody, you might want to follow this guy. He's at CT2SD, calls himself Truth from Section D. He's an East Coast transplant. He actually tweeted directly.
And I think I ghosted him. So.
Yeah, I see another one that you've ghosted.
Yeah, probably. I think I remember seeing my name tweeted by him.
He's an East Coast transplant. He's a huge Aztecs fan. He's a real fun follow. And like I said last week, he actually tweeted a couple questions directly into the show. It was great. So we appreciate the contribution and give him a follow. He's a real good follow.
My Twitter follow of the week is nobody, because I don't just start handing them out willy-nilly like my friend Littleboy here.
Well,
so,
let me tell you, you tweet questions directly into the show, and you're definitely going to get a shout-out.
Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I'm just, nobody stood out to me to get a tweet.
All right.
Twitter shout-out.
All right. Fair enough. Let's move on to the news. First thing I have in the news, I have the DL. Man, it seems like all the Padres are going on the DL. Joe Whelan is the newest member to go on the DL. Tender elbow. They said it's more of a precautionary thing, but I almost remember when Corey Lubke first they were saying it was precautionary.
Yeah, no big deal. He's sore.
He's the 4th starter and the 6th overall pitcher for the Padres to go on the DL. It's rough to be a Padre this year, apparently. You were saying before they weren't that great of a team anyways. They really weren't.
No.
All these players on the DL it's not like they're a first place team, with these players, but it's tough, man. It's tough to fill out a lineup card. It's tough to get a starting rotation and get some consistency when you have guys dropping off all the time.
Well, we had our first show, I'm pretty sure it was on opening day, matter of fact, when we did our first show, and we were talking about bounce back years for Orlando Hudson and Bartlett and Quentin contributing. When's that guy ever going to get on the field? It's just this team's had way too much go wrong too early. It's as sad as it is to say here in early May. You can pack it up. They don't. Do they have the pitching staff or the talent to see them competing for a National League West crown? I don't see it.
Well, this year it seems like they have the pitching. If they could get the hitting, their pitching is not doing terrible.
Pitching's hurt though.
Yeah.
Maybe if they were all healthy.
Yeah.
But when you got backup guys and guys that weren't even slotted to be in your rotation going down with injury, then what?
And then you got your number one pitcher in your number one prospect, Kelly. He's injured right now too.
Yeah. That's another thing. And I heard something on one of the local radio stations. You used to be a huge fan. I'm just going to call him out, Hacksaw. I used to be a huge fan of you. Not only do you beat the same stories over and over with a stick, but I heard him talking about Padres need to go out and they need to get Roy Oswalt.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, why do they need to get Roy Oswalt? Are they in some kind of race here that I don't know about? Why? Why? So maybe 2,000 or 3,000 extra people maybe go to see them play?
So he can lose games 2-1?
I mean, yeah, so he gives up 1 or 2 runs and loses? I mean,
That's
he
not
was just, a typical hacksaw fashion, just hammering it and hammering it. And because people give him a voice on the radio, everyone thinks, oh, yeah, he's right. He's right. You're a bum, hacksaw. Garbage.
Wow.
Sorry.
All right.
I've been gone for a week, baby.
Yeah, no kidding. Back with a vengeance. In baseball news, they've been talking, I don't know if you've heard this or not, they're talking about making the the third to first trick pickoff move a balk. Have you heard that? Have you heard
I've read that story, yeah. I've heard it mentioned. I actually don't think it's a good idea. I think it's been part of the game.
Well, it's kind of funny because you're a lefty, and the lefties complain that we can't do that. Yeah. We can't fake a throw to first. Why are the righties? Why right-handers get all the advantages in life and they can get the right?
It is a balk move. It's a Bush move. The only person that should be embarrassed, it's happened to me before. I've gotten caught in that move. Obviously I don't play big leagues, but it's happened to me.
Embarrassing, huh? That's a tough walk back to the dugout.
I'm trying to think. You know that I'm base running and speed aren't necessarily my thing.
Right.
But I'm trying to think if there was a more embarrassing moment. Yeah. Maybe sliding into second base a little too late.
Drop kick at second base. I remember that.
Getting picked off on that move. I don't know. I don't think they should do it. It's just been part of the game for too long.
Yeah, it has. It's funny. I kind of feel the same way as you do. It kind of seems like an unfair move to do, but at the same time, it's been there for so long.
You got a pitcher kind of on the ropes. Say you got one out, first and third. It's always in the back of that runner on first's mind that, I got to wait for him to cross his leg or make sure he's going home before I go. If that doesn't happen and they could just start going as soon as that left leg lifts up, next thing you know, we're going to have runners on second and third all day.
That's a good point. First and third, you'll have a lot more steals at second base. Yeah. That's a good point. Everth Cabrera, he's right now the top minor league shortstop. I remember him. They got him in Rule 5 a few years ago.
Yeah.
He didn't play terribly. His following year, he had a little bit of a rough time at the plate. He's hitting .328 this season. He's actually hitting .350 in the past 9 games. Do you know why they haven't brought him up?
I think they would if they had a spot for him. Maybe.
You don't know. And on March 16th, he got arrested for domestic violence, and I'm wondering if that had something to do with it.
Look, the guy, I think if you look at his overall big league, the time he spent in the big leagues, it's been a struggle for him. I think he showed flashes of what he's capable of that first year he got brought up.
I actually like him.
It's kind of tough for these. You get these Rule 5 guys out of Single A and Double A, and it's basically, Rule 5. It's just the Padres were so high on him. They can't release him or send him down or anything like that. So you're basically stuck with what you got. I think he kind of got rushed up to the big leagues. Maybe they're afraid of doing that again.
Where all Rule 5 guys do.
Yeah. Yes. But maybe they were afraid of doing that again. Look what happened last year with Anthony Rizzo. You know? Maybe they're just like, hey, let's let him have some success at the AAA level, get his confidence up. Maybe call him up in September. Hey, we're probably going to need a shortstop next year. Bartlett's not getting the job done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think they're maybe afraid to wreck his confidence.
Shane Victorino was a Rule 5 guy. The Padres had, and then they sent him down, and they ended up releasing him or whatever, and he's a solid ball player.
So there's a lot of guys that are just late bloomers. Shane Victorino is one of them. Jose Bautista. Look at him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. In ex-Padre news, Tony Gwynn, he's been out of his coaching duties again. He's been having some complications from his cancer surgery. He's had some blood clots. He's due back Tuesday. Aztecs are having kind of a rough year baseball wise.
Yes.
But he can do nothing but help coming back.
Just his presence alone. A lot of people around here forget at the end of the day he's one of the best hitters, arguably the best hitter to ever play the game.
Yeah.
So just the fact that you're sitting 10 feet away from him in the dugout, that's what a lot of these kids signed up for. So It's got to do nothing but just at least boost morale around that team.
Do you think he's going to stay at San Diego State for a long time, or do you think he's going to try to be a hitting coach, or what do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to go up to a major league, or?
This might not be a popular stance, but I kind of question how good of a head coach he actually is, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy as a person. He seems, everything I've seen of him, I've never met him personally.
Right.
He seems like a phenomenal guy, obviously a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
Best hitter in our generation, right? But maybe he just doesn't have what it takes to be head coach. And I know a couple people somewhat close to the the school and to the baseball team in general. And I just don't know. I don't know how good of a
well,
coach
you know what's funny is Aztec sports have all taken a step up. You know, and the one sport that the Aztecs had that was kind of decent was baseball, and that's the one that's actually kind of in the toilet right now.
You know what? The thing is it's amazing how good you are when you got the best pitcher in the game. You know,
yeah.
And we're starting to see that now. The guy is, you know, without
a doubt.
The
State's had a pretty decent baseball program.
Yeah, but they've had a lot of bad years too.
Yeah.
You know, they've kind of been the little sister to USD locally here. USD has always been the national power, but Strasburg, when he became that, you know, number one prospect kind of guy, he changed the whole atmosphere here. But yeah, you know, you would think a guy like Tony Gwynn in San Diego, which is so much talent in San Diego, and he can't recruit them.
I was going to say, recruiting, you think just recruiting alone he should be...
How if you're a 17-year-old kid and Tony Gwynn comes to your living room, has dinner with your family, how does he not steal the deal? I mean, it's Tony Gwynn.
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe change would be good for the Aztecs in the baseball program.
You never know.
Who knows?
Let's move on to problem spots. Last week, Josh and I, we gave some kudos to Andrew Cashner. I guess that was bad news for him because he had a pretty rough week. And this whole season, he's been very inconsistent. You know, he's pitched 14 innings, and he has 12 strikeouts. And you look at that and you think that that's pretty good. But he has 13 walks, and he's also given up 12 hits in 14 innings. That's not very good. That is not very good. And I heard some people talking about when Houston Street went out talking about moving him to the closer role. Oh, my goodness, what a terrible idea. He's done nothing to prove that he could, and he's talked about wanting to start. He's done nothing so far to prove. I don't want to give up on him, but he's done nothing to prove that he should be in the starting rotation.
I think you should give up on him and be like a typical Padre fan. Yeah. You should give up on him. I actually think this guy should be, you know, they should be working his arm up and get him in the rotation. Last year, granted, he only made one start, but it was a phenomenal start.
Right.
You know, and then he went down with the shoulder injury. One thing I noticed with him a lot, a couple weeks ago there was a game, I don't remember against who or when exactly, but he came in, I think, with one out and the bases loaded. And I've seen that happen a couple times where he's getting beat with his secondary pitches. You know, he's pumping a fastball right by the guy, or maybe he throws a fastball and misses a couple inches off the plate, and then he throws a slider, and the guy yanks it into right field. I'm thinking, dude, you throw 100 miles an hour.
Right.
If they're going to hit it, make sure they hit that. You know, that's your best pitch. Make sure they hit that. And so I just kind of like to see him, you know, attack a little more with his fastball. And I'm a fan of Cashner's. You know, anyone that can throw 100, he just, you know,
definitely has the potential. He's in a bad
stretch. He's in a bad stretch right now.
He's had a bad start, we'll say. He has a bad start. I'm certainly not giving up on him.
He's had good outings too.
Yes.
Keith Bell's had a bad start.
Yeah.
That's a guy that's had a bad start.
Just inconsistent. Cashner's been inconsistent.
Which is another thing. I agree with you what you said about the closer role. If it's one thing, I'm a Cubs fan. There's one thing I know. I mean, if it's one thing you don't want out of your closer is a guy that can't throw strikes.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter how nasty he is. Yeah. You know, if he's going to work himself into jams all the time.
A couple other problem spots. Orlando Hudson, he's been a little bit of a roller coaster. Started out slow, started doing good. His size average dropped down to 204 for the season. You know, he hasn't been there really since they signed him. He hasn't been the player they were expecting. Now, not that we were sitting here expecting him to hit 320 or anything like that. We had talked about this before. You were actually pretty pumped, you know, not as a Padre fan, but for Padre fans, saying he's going to be a good signing, and he just really hasn't come through. Nick Hundley, who I was all over him.
Yeah, what a surprise so far.
His average has dropped to 183. I mean, he's been catching good and calling a good game, but man, you got to hit more than 200. You know, you have to.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting into that very crucial point. One thing that like the national broadcast and a lot of people always say, oh, it's still early. It's still early. When does that stop? You know, when does it still early stop? We're 5-6 weeks into starting our 6th week of the season here. You know, I mean, it's not early anymore.
This is the time when
time for
the guys that are on fire, their averages start to fall a little bit below 400.
Yeah.
But the guys you're expecting to play good, their averages have to come up over 200. You got to get that average up over 200.
It's just, it's only May. It's only May. I mean, sooner or later these guys got to start playing baseball. I mean, just because it's May, the game that's playing right now is just as important as the game playing, you know, later. I mean, I never quite understood that.
Yeah. We'll move on to some bright spots here. Jose Guzman, this week he hit 462.
Who?
Jose Guzman.
Jesus
Guzman. God, why? You know what? I changed that. I'm sorry. I typoed that. I'm sorry. Jesus Guzman, 462 this week. Yonder Alonso seems to be coming around now. As a matter of fact, the game's going on right now. He actually has a RBI single, and then he hit his first home run of the season today, which was nice. That was the one thing I was going to talk about. He's hit 440.
So I would like to see
doubles.
what on Twitter at San Diego Gurley has to say about my boy Yonder Alonso after his performance the last couple of weeks.
She's the reason why
she hates him.
She's the reason why I knew he hit a home run, because she tweeted that, oh my gosh, he hit a home run. I can't believe it.
No, I mean like OMG. I mean, she didn't really say it. But, I mean, come on. She's a Yonder Alonso hater.
Yeah.
She's also an Edison Volquez hater. So, I don't know. Just really
Here's the tweet directly from her. Holy S. I finally see Alonso do something, and it's home run. It's about damn time.
Finally, it's about damn time. He's been hitting 400 over the last week. He's the only bright spot in the lineup. What do you mean, finally? Again, never hear a bad word about Cameron Maben. What's up with that? Cameron Maben's got one bomb. I think he hit it on opening day or the day after. How come nobody ever says anything bad about him? How come he's not in our problem spots?
We had him in the problem spots before. I don't want to just keep throwing him in there.
Well, he's a problem spot.
Yeah, he's having a rough...
It's not our fault he's a problem spot.
Yeah. We're in bright spots now.
Okay.
Jeff Suppan, 2 solid starts, blew me out of the water.
Sure.
After the first start, Josh was nuts about how good he did his first start, so I thought, well, that's it for him. You know, we saw what happened to everybody we talked about last week. He came in and had another great start. And as a matter of fact, I know that the defense kind of let him down in the first inning. They misplayed some balls, and he only gave up 1 run. He has 2 starts, 2 wins.
Yeah, Jeff Suppan's a veteran, man.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing up there, and he definitely is one of the guys that could use Petco Park to his advantage.
Right, and then sign himself a nice long-term deal with somebody else.
I don't know about a long-term deal, but see, those are the kind of guys that the Padres need to be going after.
Yeah.
You know, not guys that are going to want $8 million to pitch the rest of the season because Hacksaw wants to see somebody good around here. You know, that it's just those are the kind of guys they need to go after. Great move, calling him up and having him in the rotation.
Yeah, Edison Volquez, who's actually pitched pretty good this year, finally got his first win. He's now 1-2. His ERA is under 3, and he's had 6 starts. He's deserved more than 1 win. Unfortunately, as a lot of our other pitchers, he just hasn't had the offense behind him. But he's had a few control issues, but he's pitched pretty well in every start, I think.
I agree. He's maybe had a bad inning here or there in most of his starts, or it's really hard to go out there and pitch. I couldn't even imagine how hard it must be at the big league level to know, oh man, they scored 2 off me that inning. That's it.
That's it.
That is it.
That's it.
And it's got to be
the best I can hope for is a no decision.
It's got to be tough to pitch like that. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
That's why they get paid so much money, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to feel too bad for them.
All right. I usually throw a general baseball question at you. I got actually a specific Padre question for you here, Daren. Last year, I'm not sure, do you know who led the team in home runs last year?
I do.
Go ahead and tell us. Who led the Padres in home runs last year?
It was...
it's a little bit of a trick question.
Was it Ryan Ludwick?
It was Ryan Ludwick. Good call. Ryan Ludwick, he had 11. You were pretty close. Way to sell that. Who is going to lead the Padres in home runs this year? Second part of that question is, will he be a Padre at the end of the year? Like Ludwick was not. He's still in. I think
a better question would be like, will the leader have more than 10? I mean, right now, the leader in the clubhouse right now is Headley, right? He's got 4.
Yeah, he's got 4, which we've been talking about. Do you know in the last 18 Padre games, do you know how many home runs they've hit? They haven't even homered in the last. I don't. I can probably guess 1. 3 home runs in the last 18 games.
That's bad.
That is really bad, and that would not be so bad, except for the fact that they're striking out like a team that's leading the league in home runs. They're last in home runs right now, and they're like 3rd or 4th in strikeouts. Awful. That is just awful.
Well, to answer your question, Chase Headley has 4 now. Hundley has 2, and you got a handful of guys that have 1. Guys like Jesus Guzman still looking for number 1. Cameron Maben's been stuck at 1 since
Yonder Alonso was looking for his first one, but he
Yonder
hit
Alonso,
it. He's not home run.
We're still not quite sure what kind of power that guy's going to have in the big leagues.
And he's got 4 doubles this week. He's been hitting extra base hits.
The thing about Yonder Alonso, what I'd like to see about him? I'd like to see him, every once in a while yank a ball down the right field line. I mean, he's got such an opposite field approach that you wouldn't mind seeing him on a 2-0 pitch. I mean, the guy's got power. I've seen him in college. I saw him play for Miami. He was dropping bombs.
Play a little bit more solid defense. I'd be a little bit happier with some solid defense. Point those toes, Yonder. Point the toes, buddy. Point the toes.
Yeah.
I don't mean to break in, but I got to ask you a question. So what would you rather have? Hitting, just straight out hitters, or would you like to have bombers? and now I'm out.
You need to have a, for those of you that don't know, that was our producer chiming in. I think you have to have a good mix of both.
Right.
You know, in order to have a successful team, you need to have a good mix of both.
If you're gonna play in Petco Park, if you're just gonna base it on Petco Park, you want hitters. You don't want bombers because it does have bigger dimensions. It's a little bit harder to get it out. So you want guys that are gonna hit the gaps.
You got room. Every lineup in baseball has room for a guy like Adam Dunn, who strikes out like a million times a season, but you could always drop a bomb. There's always a threat to hit the ball 500 feet. Russell Branian, guys like that.
Muscle.
There's always room in your lineup. To answer your question, going back here.
Yes.
So I think to sidestep his question, not really give him an answer. I think you need a good combination of both. But obviously the boppers are more exciting to watch. I think.
Nice political, comment there.
He's running for office.
Thank you very much for just the book answer.
Yeah, I don't know. If I had to choose one, obviously I would like to pick the dude that hits the ball out of the park. I mean, that's probably the most exciting thing in baseball.
For the Padres, for me, if I was a GM of the Padres, I would pick average guys just because of the ballpark and all that. That's what
we're talking like GM. Okay. Right. Anyway, go back to your question.
Let's go back to our question.
Jesus Guzman at 0 is a huge surprise to me.
He's only 4 behind the leader.
But he's still got 0. Okay, I got just as many home runs as Jesus Guzman.
Yes.
All right?
That's a good point.
And I don't know. I want to say if Carlos Quentin could ever get off the shelf, he'd have no problem hitting pin.
Right.
Which is probably all it's going to take to lead this team.
That was going to be what my next question was.
But assuming he doesn't get enough at bats to hit 10 or 12 home runs.
Give me a name, give me a number.
You know what? I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I'm going to go Will Venable.
Okay.
13.
Okay.
13 leads this team.
I'm going to go Carlos Quentin, 16. I think he's going to give us 16 bombs.
I think we'd like to see a swing the bat in a
little bit of news on him. He's down in the minors. There's all sorts of buzz saying that he was going to be up for the Phillies series, which he of course is not. But he actually had to take another day off down in the minors because of his knee bomb.
Yeah, which is so disappointing for Padre fans. I mean, I'm not even a Padre fan. I can't wait to see this guy play.
Right. And the problem is we're almost putting, it's kind of, you go back to the Rizzo thing, we're almost putting too much on him. We're bringing him in here thinking he's going to be the answer.
And that's the problem is he's going to come up in that first week, he's probably going to struggle, and then you're going to have a lot of people hopping on Twitter talking about how garbage he is. Yeah. But eventually he'll start dropping bombs. He's a good hitter.
He's going to hit 16 of them.
Okay.
And lead the team. We're going to go to my favorite section of the show, and that's our Schadenfreude section. That is where we get to make fun of past Padres, or Padres who were on the team last year. The champion of this section so far has been Heath Bell. He did blow. Josh was hoping he would blow a save against the Padres, and he blew one that night.
Yeah, he did.
He blew one that night, and he has since been removed for the closer's role. And they moved Mujica into the closer role. Another former Padre who had trouble with the long ball when he was a Padre. What do you think about Heath Bell? Do you think that he's got to regain the spot. They got to put him back in there, right?
Oh, not if he keeps pitching the way he's pitching. Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird. I mean, he's pitching in a big ballpark. I mean, granted, it's in Miami. I mean, what's the issue with him? I don't get it.
I heard on the radio.
I know he's not. I mean, his stuff isn't the same. I mean, he's still throwing mid-90s.
Right.
It's not like all of a sudden he's Lincecum coming throwing 88.
I heard his name just slipped my mind. Who's the new guy in the booth for the Padres now? He's a former pitcher. He pitched for the Cubs. Oh, man, I can't think of his name.
Bob?
Yeah.
Bob Scanlon?
Bob Scanlon. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. Yeah. Oh. Bob Scanlon was talking about Heath Bell, and he was saying he thinks that the problem is his curveball. His curveball actually has more break now, which you think would be a good thing, but for someone like him, it's not. It loops more, and people are able to time it and just mash it.
Yeah, he is definitely getting beat on that curveball. That's a great point.
And I love Bob Scanlon.
Yeah.
I had a brain fart there, forgot his name for some reason. He's great to listen to, and that's the type of former ball player that's really fun to listen to. Gives you some good insight.
And he'll interact with fans too. I actually sent him an email, and he responded to me in an hour. It was great.
Next one, Ryan Ludwick. We were talking about him. He led the Padres. This week he was 1 for 10, and he's batting 176 for the season. He's got 3 home runs for the Reds, which would put him in second place if he was a Padre. But he's having a rough year too. He's had a rough couple of years. He really hasn't. He was kind of like a fourth outfielder for the Cardinals, wasn't he?
No. He was an all-star for the Cardinals.
But I thought when they traded him to the Padres, by the time they traded him, he was like the fourth outfielder.
That's why they basically got rid of him, is because they were struggling with finding room for, I believe it was John Jay at the time, and what a they obviously knew something. They picked the right guy to let go. That's
exactly.
For sure.
He really hasn't regained his all-star form since he just hasn't. He hasn't. Last year he didn't have a very good. After we traded him to the.
It's got to be a lot. I can only imagine it's got to be a lot easier to hit when you're just surrounded by guys like Albert Pujols and Matt Holliday. But the thing is he's surrounded by sluggers in Cincinnati too. So I don't know what his deal is. Not only that, Cincinnati couldn't be any further from what Petco Park is.
Yes.
I mean, you can stand at home play and throw a ball out of there.
An interesting story I heard actually on the radio today. Ryan Ludwick got in a little bit of a argument with Mike Adams in the locker room last year. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't, but it doesn't surprise me. I've heard Ryan Ludwick was kind of a scumbag.
And they were arguing because he was tired of hearing Ludwick complain about the dimensions of Petco Park. And Mike Adams said, I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of hearing that. Chase Headley was involved with that too, and he told both of them, hey, I'm tired of hearing it. Shut up and hit.
Yeah.
And Chase Headley now comes out and says, that story's not true. That's not really what happened.
Sounds true to me.
Yeah.
Everything. Mike Adams seemed like a pretty legit dude. I bet you it is true.
Yeah. He probably, it seemed to me like he was probably tired of him bitching and just finally just said, enough, guys. I'm tired of hearing it. Just go out there and hit the ball.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to our player of the week. Mine is Dale Thayer. Brought him up from AAA. Saved both of our wins this week. The second one was a little bit of an adventure, but he hasn't given up any earned runs yet. And I love the fact that with his mustache, he looks like Jamie Hyneman for those Mythbuster fans. I don't know if you're a Mythbuster fan. You're not. You're not a nerd like me. But for those Mythbuster fans out there, he looks like Jamie Hyneman. I just got a kick out of that for some reason. Who do you got?
My player of the week, we talked about him earlier, Yonder Alonso. A lot of big things expected out of this guy. Not delivering early in the season, starting to now. I mean, people don't forget this guy's 24 years old. I mean, let's not give up. And I kind of guess on that age, maybe he's 23. I don't even know. But I know he's in his early 20s, and he's going to be phenomenal.
And his defense has tightened up too.
He's never going to be known for a goal. He's probably never going to win a Gold Glove, but you would like to see him make the plays. At balls hit right at him, and maybe in an occasional pick and point his toes.
And
don't forget to point those toes.
Point those toes, Yonder.
Take it from the gymnast. Point those toes.
Point those toes, Yonder.
And real quick, one thing that we didn't have on here, I want to bring up. I really love the alternate blue uniforms that they've been wearing a couple times a week.
Yeah,
love those uniforms.
Are you a fan of the ones they wear on Sunday?
The camouflage?
Yeah, the camos.
I want to buy one.
Right. What's funny is I'm on the. If I was gonna get a new jersey, I wouldn't buy the camo one. I'm not a fan of it, but I love the fact that they wear them every Sunday. I think that's a really neat thing that they do. Yeah, a real cool tradition. And that's one thing that we don't have in San Diego. A lot of is traditions. We have. That's one that we can give to the Padres. The Chargers have the powder blues that everybody seems to kind of like.
Yeah, but you know what? The powder blues aren't a tradition. I mean,
right.
Every team has their alternate jerseys they wear twice a season.
That's true.
So.
But the tradition for the camos is kind of a neat thing, and hopefully that it'll be something that continues for a long time, and they'll be known for that.
And they're, as far as I know, they're the only team in baseball that's doing something like that. I mean, I know the Braves have their Sunday. The Braves have their Sunday outfit. I think they wear the red tops, and the Lakers wear their home whites on Sundays, home games. But yeah, really cool, really like it.
Yeah, I think that's really cool too. One quick thing before we end the show, Daren and I were talking. We really enjoy doing the Padres Cast every week. We're thinking maybe we get a little bit of feedback. We're thinking of actually turning it into a general San Diego sports show. Now, during the baseball season, of course, it would be Padre heavy. But that way, when the football season starts and baseball's over, we don't have to, stop doing the show or whatever. It'll just be the same show. We'll just kind of transition into football heavy. We can carry Aztecs. We can do everything San Diego. I think it'd be kind of a neat idea to do that. What do you think, D?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. There's a lot of stuff, going on. I mean, for example, there's so much stuff that we can't even touch on this show. Junior Seau, for one.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Charger draft.
I mean, there's just so much
San Diego State sports, of course.
Exactly.
They got the basketball on the aircraft carrier coming up.
The Aztecs basketball team had an amazing recruiting class, so it'd be nice to kind of talk about that on occasion.
So we might
basically kind of combine what PMLB was doing with our Aztec show.
Right, just kind of combine the two shows and then just make it San Diego sports in general. Yeah. So we're kicking that idea around anyways. We'd love to hear some feedback if anybody else was interested or had any other ideas.
By the All-Star break, I don't think anyone will be searching for Padres stuff. So that's my personal opinion.
They're going to come back, man. I don't know if they're going to get back to 500, but the season is going to get better. It has to get better. With that being said, I want to thank Pro Sports Memorabilia for being our sponsor again. Go to the PMLBsports.com, click on the link, buy some stuff. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure that you know that we stream every Friday around 6 o'clock. We still haven't nailed down a time. We're hoping to go about 6 o'clock. Until then, everybody take care.
Cheers.